Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Sports, Cigars, and Coffee. I'm your host, Coach Dave, who's going to be bringing you topics about sports, cigars, and coffee. I wanted to get my first episode up last week, but couldn't because of technical difficulties. But here we are. We're on week 2 of the NFL kicking off tonight between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. And by the time this gets loaded, that game will probably be over. The Eagles won a tough, gutty road game at New England in tough conditions. Vikings lost, I consider it a mild upset to Tampa Bay. So we'll see. Eagles will be down James Bradbury, their starting corner, starting safety Reese Blankenship, and running back Kenny Gainwell, but next man up. So hopefully the Eagles can persevere in their home opener and get to 2-0. That's all that matters. We had an interesting week 1. My disappointments for week 1 were the Steelers, the Giants, and the Bengals. Totally did not see those blowouts coming. In fact, I thought Pittsburgh, San Francisco was going to be one of the better games of the day. But they scored early, and they were all over Pickett. Cowboys, same thing. Dak really didn't need to do much, and the offense didn't really need to do much. Dallas defense dominated. And Joe Burrow, coming off the contract signing of the biggest contract, only 82 yards passing. So we'll see. So anyway, my last, I wanted to have a division preview last week, but didn't happen. So we are going to talk about my division winners. I'm predicting the division winners, and this is going into week 1. Week 1's not even going to be taken in consideration. In the AFC, I had the Bills winning the East. I had the Steelers winning the North. I have Jacksonville in the South and Kansas City in the West. The 3 wildcard teams I have are Cincinnati, Miami, and the Ravens. In the NFC, I have the Cowboys winning the East, Packers winning the North, the Saints winning the South, and the 49ers winning the West. And my 3 wildcard teams are the Lions, Eagles, and Giants. And I have the 49ers beating the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game, and Kansas City beating Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, with Kansas City defeating the 49ers 34-30 for their second straight Super Bowl title, and we can officially call them a dynasty. My MVP this year I'm predicting Joe Burrow to be MVP. I'm predicting TJ Watt will just slightly edge Micah Parsons for the Defensive Player of the Year. After Sunday, right now, Parsons is probably the leader. And for Coach of the Year, I have Mike Tomlin. So we'll see how that shakes out as we head into the season. I usually don't like to talk about teams and rankings until about week 4. I think the first 4 weeks, it's still an extension of the preseason. So we're going to just wait until after week 4 before we start talking about who's who in the hierarchy of the NFL. This week's games, we're going to see, can the Giants bounce back? Can the Steelers bounce back? We have the Patriots hosting the Dolphins. I think that's going to be a very good game. And we have Kansas City and Jacksonville this week. Can Kansas City bounce back against a very good Jacksonville team who I think is going to be a 1 or a 2 seed in the AFC? So week 2 is going to be, entertaining. There was some good games this week that we had the Jets. What a range of emotions. You come out of the tunnel, you have your new superstar franchise quarterback coming out on 9/11 with the American flag, and on the 4th play, he tears his Achilles. I didn't see it live because I was out, But when I saw the replay, as soon as I saw the replay, I knew it was his Achilles because you could see the calf kind of rolled up. I don't know if this is going to be the last of Rodgers. Was he 38, 39? Achilles is a year injury, not about a year. Uh, was that the last we saw of him? I'm going to say no, just because he likes to be a pain uh, in the ass with with the media. So I have a feeling he's going to come back, and then to play a tough, gutty game against Buffalo, where they made Josh Allen pedestrian. You know, the Browns made Joe Burrow look pedestrian. That was really the first time since his rookie year that Joe Burrow had a game like that. Josh Allen, when are we going to stop? When are we going to stop giving him excuses? When's he going to get the Dak treatment? I think Dak gets blamed for things that he doesn't necessarily do. That's his fault. But Josh Allen, I think the media and the NFL just force him down our throats. They force Buffalo down our throats, and he's on the cover of Madden, and he goes out there, and the guy is like a pastry chef with all these turnovers. So when is he going to start getting the grief that uh, Dak Prescott gets? And then we had the ending. Buffalo makes a field goal at the end of the regulation to tie it. They go 3-and-out in overtime, and the Jets take the punt back for a walk-off punt. What a range of emotions for the Jets and their fans. I make fun of the Jets fans and the Jet franchise being cursed because I think Joe Namath signed a contract with the devil, and I don't want to see players get hurt, especially season-ending injuries or potentially career-ending injuries in this case because of Rodgers' age. But this is that going out in the offseason, putting all the chips in the table and pushing them to the middle. You got Rodgers. You signed or traded for guys that he wanted. You have a very good defense. Now the offense was supposed to be better, but their offensive line stinks. So I don't know if Zach Wilson's going to survive either. So they better sign a veteran backup like Carson Wentz or someone who's available. But Aaron Rodgers getting hurt on the fourth play, it's the most Jet thing ever. Like, oh, that would, I don't recall in football a player who had the anticipation of signing with a new team via either a trade or free agent, where within the first four plays it was done. I know Jerry Rice had that year where I think it was either preseason or week one where he tore his ACL, and but I cannot recall. So if you do recall an NFL player who signed with another team that was highly anticipated, put it in the comment box. We'll see what kind of answers we could come up with. During football season, we're mostly going to be talking about football. Once the playoffs in baseball start, we'll talk about them. And this year's been a lost year for me being a Yankees fan. Let me tell you a little bit about myself after we, just went through the little football, NFL football. So I was born and raised in Northeast Pennsylvania, in a town of Dunmore, Pennsylvania, which is right next to Scranton. And so if you watch The Office, that's where I'm from. Played sports my whole life, from the time I was able to walk to the time, I was 19, 20. Through school, I played baseball, football, basketball, played football in high school, baseball in high school, played 1 year of baseball in college, and coached my son and daughter's teams. I coached baseball, I've coached football, I've coached girls softball, I've coached boys basketball, I've coached girls basketball. So I consider myself knowledgeable. I certainly don't know everything, but I consider myself knowledgeable in sports. I'm a Penn State grad. 1997 Penn State grad, so I'm a Nittany Lion through and through. We're at Illinois this week. With that ridiculous night. Last time we met was that ridiculous 9 overtime game, which we'll talk about college football too once we start getting into the season. Because the first couple weeks, I mean, besides Texas and Alabama, besides Colorado and TCU, this year's kind of the first 2 weeks have been, you know. This week we have Colorado and Colorado State. Might be the most interesting game. Nothing really on the schedule got me excited. Now next week it's big time. Next week we have Notre Dame and Ohio State and Penn State and Iowa. So that's going to be a nice weekend. I like the Yankees in baseball. Uh, Sixers in the NBA, which the second round Sixers, as I call them. The franchise can't get out of their way because they're just I think they're a poorly run franchise in terms of uh, just the drama. I mean, you had Ben Simmons, James Harden. So those are the teams that I follow. I currently live in Wisconsin, so being away from Pennsylvania, I'll have a watchful eye on the Steelers. And I'll have a watchful eye on the New York Giants, as my brother and father are Giants fans, except for when they play the Eagles. So, uh, sports. I'm just a sports guy that likes to talk sports. I like to watch sports. So we'll have some good conversation during the course of the NFL season, and once college basketball starts, and once the NBA starts. Um, so getting back to the NFL this week, I'm going to give you a couple picks here. I like Kansas City to beat Jacksonville 24-20. Um, and that is without Travis Kelce. So we'll see if Kelce plays. It'll open up the middle of the field uh, for the receiver. Or him in the middle of the field will open up the outside as long as they can catch the ball. The Packers coming off their big win against Chicago, traveling to Atlanta. I like the Packers in a squeaker, 24-23. Everyone coming into the season was down on the Packers. I wasn't, because their defense isn't bad. They have decent offensive line. They have decent running backs. It's not like Jordan Love, is going to be alone. Wide receivers and tight ends are a little green behind the ears, but I think they just have enough to beat the Falcons. I think the schedule, the first 2 games, Chicago and the Falcons, are a nice start. Like if Jordan Love had to go to New England, or had to go to San Francisco, or had to go to Dallas, then it would have been tough. But he can build some confidence against teams who don't have the defense of those other teams. Then we have the Dolphins traveling to New England. Now this one's going to be interesting because after watching New England last week, they have a very good defense. They're well coached. They're fast. They disguise their blitzes and they tackle well. Now we're going up against Tua, who put up over 400 yards against San Diego, or LA, excuse me. I'm still not used to that. And but I do like the Dolphins to prevail 21-17. I think the Patriots defense are going to keep teams low scoring. I mean, they forced the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles scored 25, but 4 of them were field goals, and 1 was a pick 6 by big play Slay. Then we have the Browns and the Steelers. Rivalry game. Cleveland has a good defense. I wasn't sure about their offense because I cannot trust Deshaun Watson. I don't think he's a good quarterback, but their defense is excellent. They got Myles Garrett. Pittsburgh, I think, is going to circle the wagons. A game like last week, whatever the game plan was, you put it in the shredder and you just start over. And I think Pittsburgh wins a defensive slugfest, 13-10. Now, the pressure's on Matt Canada, the Pittsburgh offensive coordinator. He's been scrutinized this whole offseason. When I was watching that game last week, I did not see any creativity. I did not see anything that would fool San Francisco. It's like San Francisco knew a play was coming. The early in the game, I think it was like the third or fourth play, Kenny Pickett got sacked and he got whipped down. And I wonder if his bell got rung. And I don't know if he got checked on the sidelines. He got whipped down pretty hard, which I thought was a penalty now. When you make a tackle and you kind of whip the guy back where his head hits off the ground. I thought that was the Tua rule, what happened to him last year. I thought that should have been roughing the passer, but according to my brother Steeler fan, the Steeler quarterbacks never get roughing the passer called against them. But I do like Pittsburgh to win a low-scoring defensive slugfest, 13-10, possibly in overtime. Now, the one thing I do when I do make predictions, I never pick the Eagles game. I'll give you a little preview about it, but I won't pick the Eagles to win or lose. I never pick them to win the division, and I never pick them to win the Super Bowl. It's just a little. I want to remain biased. But going into tonight's game with the Vikings, there's a lot of cleanup on offense. I'm not as down on the offense as some of the other fans because they went into New England in an inclement weather against one of the greatest defensive minds in the history of football on Tom Brady Day. So, they got out of there with the win, and that's all that matters. So another one of my passions is cigars. So I'll be talking about cigars. And the cigar for today's show is a Man of War Virtue. It's a mellow to medium cigar. It is from Nicaragua, and it does have the wrapper is my favorite wrapper, an Ecuador Connecticut wrapper. I'm a Connecticut wrapper fan. Those are my favorite wrappers, and it's got a nice smooth butter taste. It's just smooth and relaxing, and there's no really aftertaste to it, which is good. There's no bitterness, and it's aged for almost a decade. So I think that's, I really do enjoy the uh, flavor of this one. Now you'll notice people will say, "Oh, geez, how'd you cut that?" Well, I'm a chewer. For the cigars in my mouth, I chew. I chew the tip of the cigar. Uh, but I do enjoy cigars. I belong to JR Cigars, uh, cigar.com, cigars.com, Cigars International, and Cigar Bid, which I really like Cigar Bid because you could pick your price. You bid on cigars and you don't necessarily have to pay the high prices. If you see something that's bidding for $12, $14, $15, you can bid. I also get catalogs in the mail, and I got this yesterday, Cigars International. So this is where I get my supplies from. Our town does have a cigar shop that I frequent once in a while. Uh, but I prefer to get these discounted prices. Now, the only problem is when you sign up for these, you get catalogs and you get bombarded with emails. So, but if you like mellow cigars, check this one out. Man of War Virtue, one of the better cigars I've had, one of my favorites. And another one of my passions is coffee. I drink coffee pretty much all day. I've been told I drink too much coffee by members of my family and members of the medical field. But I just love coffee. I love the taste of it. I love different coffee creams. Of course, my favorite is pumpkin spice. That should be year round. I don't know why peppermint mocha. I think that's crap. I know people love it, so I'm not hating on you. I just don't like peppermint mocha. I don't like peppermint in general. I don't like chocolate chip mint. I don't like anything mint. So I experiment with making my own creamer as well. I do things to make my own creamers. I like to try new coffees, but today's selection is just a simple, basic, kicking it old school, like mom used to make, Folgers classic. You can't go wrong with a nice cup of classic Folgers cup. So down in the comment section, I want you to list who your predictions are for the NFL season. Even it's week 2, so it's still early in the season. If you do like cigars, why don't you tell me where you get your cigars from and which ones are your favorites? And during the course of the year, I'm going to be getting various different coffees, um, especially ones that uh, are not mainstream. So we're going to wrap it up with hopefully, we're going to wrap it up now, and hopefully the Eagles can get a win tonight, go 2-0, and then I can just relax on Sunday. And then they're off all the way until Monday. They got Tampa Bay on Monday night uh, for week 3. So hope you enjoyed. Be gentle. It's my first one, so I'm still learning this process. And hit the subscribe button, hit your notification button, and down there in the comment sections, tell me what you think. Positive feedback on how I can improve, because I'm always looking for improvement in anything. And like I said, be gentle. This is my first episode. Arrivederci.